moving on to my first one, I have Nejimaki Seirei Senki, and I kind of thought I would enjoy this one. It seemed very whimsical at first, and kind of interesting because it blended sort of a fantasy with a postmodern kind of feel to it, because you have people running around with like guns and sabers, and then you also have like these little creatures that like soul companions that they have, which kind of added that fantasy kind of feel to it. And it's very I enjoyed the characters in it, and this is why I was going to say about this from the other one too, is that here's another character who, he doesn't seem like he has a whole lot going on. He's very much lazy, and he even professes that he is one of the most laziest people ever. But he's so smart. He's so smart. He's so intuitive. And when push comes to shove, if you had anybody you would want to have in a bad situation, this would be the person, because he will. It's those moments where you're just like, he either comes up with a brilliant plan, or he has just this way of being able to bluff and actually pull it out. And you're just like, holy crap, where did that come from? Then again, it's very much militaristic, because you have two main empires who are going up against each other. And as the story progresses, you kind of see how the reasons why the empire is the way it is, and why this one's doing this one, and so forth and so much. And you really, the main character himself, like there's four characters that are, I want to say, actually five characters that are kind of paramount, essential, and main to it. Two of them that I say were like the top two, and then the rest are just kind of co-stars, I guess you could say. You have the guy who is the brilliant strategist, and he has a female friend who is just like the quintessential pentacle warrior type. And I say this because she has kind of like Kirito and Sword Art. She has a dual blade style that she uses.
Okay.
And when she goes all out, she will just, people die rather quickly. I mean, heads go flying, bodies drop, and you're just like, there was at one point where the princess of the kingdom that she was protecting got kidnapped, and she just went off. And it was one of those moments where you're just like standing back in awe. I mean, it was kind of like, it was almost like watching Seirei in Hellsing Ultimate when she finally snapped.
Okay,
remember that? It was almost like watching that, and you're just sitting back going, damn! What happened? Holy crap! And I mean, like, it wasn't until all the bad guys were dead and just gone on the ground, and like her friend finally approached. She was just like heaving with both swords in hand, and he finally came up and just calmed her down, and she was able to stop. But it was just like that, and I get that. That's like, warriors. That's like the heat of battle. I mean, you lose yourself in a lot of that, and that's what she did. And it wasn't until he brought her back to reality that everything just kind of settled, which I thought was really cool.
She went all Wolverine on their ass.
Basically, I mean, basically. But and he gets put in situations. He never wanted to be a soldier. He only kind of went into it because of the girl that he's with. He's trying to help her, and you start seeing more as the reasons behind that. It's not a like love relationship between the two of them. It's more of just like a companion. Like they actually like lean on each other for support on critical moments and key things. And it's just like them being around each other. There's never any romance involved with it. It's just they, even for not only just physical, but just moral support, just kind of being there for one another, which I think is really cool. Because I mean, so many animes go that way, where you have the male main character and the female main character, and there's a love story between them, and it's like it's not that way with this one. At least it doesn't feel that way with this one. It's more just they just kind of know each other and have that companion kind of with each other. So I think that's kind of cool. And then you have the other 3 characters that kind of join with them, and each of them have their own like abilities and kind of specialties. And it's really cool watching the main character, how he sees the potential in a lot of them, and he'll give them the tools to be able to do what it is that they need to do, and then just kind of gives them a nudge and just goes, okay, go ahead, and they'll follow along like right usually with it. Like they introduced in the story itself like rifles, because usually they just had like guns that were short to mid range, and then they introduced long range rifles, and they were supposed to defend a fort situation, and the main character knew there was a force that was going to attack it, that was going to be using the rifles. So he took the dude that was with him, who was very good with rifles, the long range rifles, and he was like, I want you to go and I want you to protect this place, and we both know they're going to attack. And he could just tell him what to do, but he goes, well, he asked, well, how do I defend against that? How do I defend against someone else who's using the same sort of rifles that we are? He's like, well, how far is the effective range of it? He's like, well, I would say about, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, well, where would you set up if you were attacking the fort to best give the most, chaos involved in that? He's like, well, I'd probably set up along this area over here. And he's like, okay, how would you defend it then? And he left it completely up to him. And he figured it out and actually set up to a certain point where right when that force tried to come and attack it, he was already waiting there for them and started laying them out before they could even start anything. It's like those brilliant like strategic like things like that. I'm like, okay, that was just too damn cool.
Yeah, where it's like whereas people are like, I know you know the answer. Let me help you figure it out yourself.
Yeah. And he just let him kind of do it his own way. So that way, I mean, he's still like the guy that he helped was still like thinking of it in awe about the main character, because he's like, but he's like, but the main character's like, you figured that out on your own. That was you. I just kind of helped you along the way. I knew the answer. I just want to make sure you knew the answer so we can get this going, So I was like, that's really cool. And like I said, the way he does things, you want to talk about calculating and figuring stuff out. I mean, every time he does something in a battle situation, you're like, oh my God, that was brilliant. Yeah. And he's always like, why do things the hard way when you can do things the smart way and be lazy about it afterwards?
That's my kind of dude right there.
Yeah.
Don't force yourself to do more than you have to. Just take the easy way. That way we get the job done and we're good. And I'm like, you can't argue with that. It's kind of right. So, but
nice.
Cool.
I definitely enjoyed that one. I thought it was really cool.
So that's a 5 out of 5.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward. The way they ended the season, there's going to be more to it, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how things will progress from where they're at. Even though it's really short and it leaves you wanting more, obviously, because I think it's a really wonderful world, and I think it's great what they did with it. And I can't wait to actually see a full second season to that. It's nice to be able to go back to it and at least kind of experience that as it is.
This type of show is kind of starting to become like a subgenre where you have somebody who at school they play like a regular person and everything, and then whenever they go home they like dive into like their otaku kind of stuff, and they don't really show that side of them to anybody else.